Doomsday is fast approaching, and so I feel like I'm in desperate need of a rewatch of the entire MCU. So I thought while I'm doing that, why not rank all of the movies as we go through each phase and give them a little rating as well, kind of talk about what I like, what I didn't like. So then as we go through all of the phases, we'll be fully prepared for Doomsday and we'll just be having some fun along the way. If you're new here, hello, I'm Rose. I like to talk about movies, TV, books, music, basically just all of my favorite things while I'm doing my makeup at the same time. Usually I like to do a makeup look that's kind of inspired by what I'm talking about. So today you can see I've gone for something that I tried to go kind of tesseract inspired because I feel like it's mentioned quite a bit in phase 1. So I hope you enjoy. So I'm going to be going in release order, which means that of course we have to start with the movie that kicked it all off, Iron Man 1. So Iron Man 1, I think for probably most Marvel fans, it's just the most iconic of probably any movie in the MCU. I think with it being the pop culture moment that it was and the impact that it had and just the fact that it literally started the entire MCU, I think that makes it kind of gives it this heavier weight, if you know what I mean. So I do think it's really important to acknowledge that and its significance. For me, I think the movie, it's a great origin story. We really kind of get to know Tony and the type of person that he was. There's a real character development as well that I really enjoy. You know, he's definitely not the same person that he was at the beginning of the movie. And of course, Robert Downey Jr. is just so spectacular as Tony Stark. He's got to be like, not even top 10, probably top 5 casting. There is literally no one else who could be Tony Stark. Do you know what I mean? It's just him. I also love Pepper in this movie, Pepper Potts. I think she has some really funny moments. And, you know, we have our big boss fight at the end. And really, I don't think Tony could have done it without Pepper. I really love her as a character in this movie. I just think she's so funny. Also a style icon as well. I really love all of the outfits that they put in her. I just think she looks real. I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah, so I really enjoy the costuming in this movie as well. In terms of as a villain, Obadiah Stane is, I don't know if I remember it being much of a twist the first time that I watched it. It was definitely a twist that he was working with the 10 rings. I thought that was a good plot twist, but maybe you could have seen it coming. I don't know. It's been so long since I can't even remember when it was the first time that I watched it. So I can't really remember if I was surprised by that or not. I love the look of all of Tony's suits. I think the Mark 1 looks amazing. I really love how kind of clunky it is and how much it kind of gets in the way. He gets his arm stuck in the wall at some point. I really enjoy origin stories where the first try isn't that great. I mean, of course it served a purpose, it got him out of there. But, you know, I really enjoy seeing the process. I like the whole montage where he's trying to recreate the suit and trying to make it better, and, you know, he's kind of flying all around and shouting at his robots. I think that's really fun. So yeah, all in all, this movie for me is a 7 out of 10. When I go to rewatch movies in the MCU, I rarely pick Iron Man. My fiance really loves Iron Man though. He really loves Tony as a character, so I think that's probably why I rewatch it more. But yeah, I think it's a great story. I think just the significance of it and its place in the MCU, I think it's really important to acknowledge that. Robert Downey Jr. is so fantastic. So yeah, it's a 7 out of 10 for me. Okay, so next we have The Incredible Hulk, which honestly, I don't think it's as bad as people made it out to be. This actually was my first time watching it. I have been a fan of the MCU since 2012, and I have never ever watched The Incredible Hulk. Partially, this is going to make me sound so stupid, but partially the reason why is because for some reason I thought that it wasn't canon in the MCU. I think probably because it's not Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. I just assumed that that wasn't canon in the MCU. So yeah, actually this was my first time watching it, which is crazy. And I'd heard, you know, a lot of people saying that it's really not that great, and, you know, in terms of kind of its place in the MCU, you don't really have to have watched it, which I do think is true. I think for any of phase 1, to be honest, I think phase 1 is probably the only phase where you can kind of get away without having seen any of the movies, which I think is why I like it so much as well. Because as much as I love the MCU and I love a cinematic universe, you're going to learn this about me very quick, it can be really overwhelming to have to watch a ton of movies to understand what's going on in one particular movie. And that's a little bit kind of how I'm feeling about Doomsday at the moment, because there's a few Marvel movies that I actually haven't seen. I kind of dropped out a little bit, probably between 2022 and maybe 2024. I used to watch every single Marvel movie when it came out, but I kind of stepped back a little bit because it was getting just a bit too much, especially with the TV shows and everything. There's a ton of TV shows that I haven't watched. So I've also never seen any of the X-Men movies, but I am going to watch those. So now we've got Doomsday coming and I'm like, oh my God, there's so much stuff that I have to watch and that I have to catch up on. I mean, luckily they've given us tons of time to do our homework, but it can be really overwhelming. And so I think that's something that I like about phase 1 is that really you don't have to have seen everybody's movies to understand what's going on in any of the individual movies, but also in Avengers. But we'll get there. I'm getting ahead of myself now. I'm getting a bit overexcited. So Incredible Hulk, I didn't dislike it. I did think it was maybe a little bit longer than it needed to be. I do think that we spend maybe a little bit too much time on Bruce and Elizabeth's relationship. And also I do find that the story is quite repetitive. I feel like we have Ross looking for Bruce, finding Bruce, fighting him as the Hulk, and then they go back, or Bruce runs away, and then Ross is looking for Bruce again, and we find Bruce, and we fight him, and then he runs away again. I think this happens like 3 times. It even happens at the end. So yeah, it is a little bit, I don't think it's one that I'm going to be rushing to rewatch. But yeah, I didn't think that it was as bad as people were making it out to be. I also liked the character design of Hulk. You know, I think his hair's much darker. I think he looks a little bit more comic book accurate, I think, to me. Or at least how I remember that Hulk looked like as a kid. I don't know. Maybe do you know what? It might be. I went to Madame Tussauds once and there's a massive Hulk there. And I think I was like 10. I think it was like 2010. And I'm guessing that the Hulk was probably based off of the one in the movie. So maybe that's why I think it's more accurate. It's probably more accurate to the Madame Tussauds. Because the Madame Tussauds is based off him, probably. Yeah, I also liked the character design for Abomination. I thought he was quite scary looking. But I think overall, it's a 5 out of 10 for me. I can't see myself rushing to rewatch it. I think now that I've seen it, I'm happy that I've seen it, but I don't feel like I need to see it again. So up next, we have Iron Man 2, which personally I think is a really fun movie. I really enjoy it. I am happy to rewatch this one quite often. And I really feel like this is kind of where the MCU starts to take shape. In Iron Man 1 and Incredible Hulk, we'd had mentions of the Avengers, but only in the post-credit scenes. Whereas Iron Man 2, we're more involved with Phil. We see Nick Fury. You know, there's a lot more. There's also the fun little additions with Captain America's shield, with mentions of what's going on in New Mexico. So it's where it kind of starts to come together. And I think that's really fun. As I said, I love a cinematic universe. I love mentions of anything in any movie. I love a cameo, I love an Easter egg, anything like that. So little things like that make me really happy. Again, Robert Downey Jr. is fantastic in this movie. I really love Tony and Pepper's relationship in this movie. I think Gwyneth Paltrow is hilarious. I think the car scene is actually probably one of my favourite scenes. Maybe in the whole MCU, actually. That scene just makes me laugh so much. I really like the concept as well. Of course, with Tony making the Iron Man suit, other places are going to be, like militaries are going to start wanting to use this technology. The rivalry with Justin Hammer. I also think, I remember when I first watched this, I found Whiplash genuinely scary. When we first see him, where are we? The Grand Prix, I think. And he's just chopping cars in half. I just find that so scary. And I really thought that it was over for Tony, I really enjoy in a movie where you have a villain and you're genuinely thinking to yourself, how the hell are they going to get out of this? And I did feel that. I think I did feel that the first time that I watched it. So in this movie, this is where Tony is having some issues with his arc reactor. I think it's poisoning him, if I remember correctly. So basically for the whole movie, Tony thinks that he's dying, which then does make him really unlikable. But I do respect when a franchise or a story or whatever does this, when they make me dislike the main character, because it does make them more human. So yeah, I can't complain too much about that. I will say though, Tony spending so much time in his suit, it just makes me feel so gross. I just feel like when they're sitting in the donut shop, I just know that suit stinks. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's a fun movie. We get introduced to War Machine. I do think that it's funny. Again, Tony always has such great one-liners. But I will say, I didn't find it as engaging as the first. And so I've given it a 6 out of 10. Now moving on to Thor. This was my favourite for such a long time. This was my favourite movie when I first got into the MCU. I've always been a Thor and Loki girly. So maybe I am a little bit biased with this one. But I rewatched it for the first time the other day. And I still really enjoyed it. I think I was actually surprised with how much I enjoyed it. Because I hadn't watched it for so long. And I think that helps as well. I really have a tendency to rewatch things way too soon. And I really enjoyed it. I think it has some really funny moments, some really iconic moments as well. I think that Loki is a great villain. You truly never know what his next move is going to be. He's just betraying everyone left, right and centre. And I think that Tom Hiddleston was so fantastic throughout the whole movie, but specifically closer to the end when he's fighting with Thor and his father. It's really amazing. It's really heartbreaking actually. It's also the first movie in the MCU where we see somewhere other than Earth and we're introduced to the 9 realms. So that's also really fun. I know that people have a lot to say about Jane Foster, but I get it. I get it. I think if a Norse god landed on my doorstep, or if I hit him with my car, I would be pretty intrigued too. I think I'd be acting up as well. I can't lie. And can you blame her? She's literally a scientist. Of course she wants to find out more. That's literally her job, is to experiment and find things out and discover things. So yeah, I think this is a really fun movie. I do think that it's one that you probably need to leave some space in between rewatches, but I really enjoy it. It's an 8 out of 10 for me. So up next is Captain America, the First Avenger. Captain America for me, probably, I think it could be one of my favourite trilogies in the MCU. Again, I think it's such a good origin story. Steve is just so painfully nice. Do you know what I mean? Stanley Tucci in this is so great. Stanley Tucci just... every character he plays I just have such a soft feeling for. I'm saying that because I've just watched The Devil Wears Prada for the first time, and the second one as well. I think it's just a really enjoyable movie. I really love all the characters. I really like Peggy. I know not everybody likes Peggy, and I guess partly because of Steve's decision at the end of Endgame, but we're not talking about that right now. I think she's great. I love her. I also really think that this movie's great as a period piece. I mean, I don't know much how historically accurate it is, probably not very, but I find it really interesting to see kind of where Steve and Captain America fits into the whole of World War II. Also, I love our little glimpses into the MCU. We've got so much Howard Stark going on. So that's really fun too. I really enjoy the story of friendship between Steve and Bucky. I think Sebastian Stan is fantastic as Bucky. I think it's so funny. I love his sarcastic, "Let's hear it for Captain America." I don't know if that was on purpose to be sarcastic, but I just think it's hilarious. And his scream when he's falling off of the train into the mountains. It's like, it's harrowing. It's like heartbreaking. The Hydra weapons are terrifying, especially the guy in the train and he's got like the double gun. Scary. I think Red Skull is a great villain. He's terrifying and just completely insane. I also think the music is really worth mentioning. I think Captain America's theme is probably the most iconic and recognizable of all the Avengers, actually, maybe other than Spider-Man, for me anyway. So all in all, I really love Captain America. Rewatch wise, I would say it's probably not one that I rewatch loads, but that's really just because I always end up going for Winter Soldier or Civil War. If I want a Captain America movie, it's probably going to be those two. That really doesn't make me love this movie any less. So it's an 8 out of 10. So now it's time for the final movie of Phase 1, The Avengers. So I love this movie so much. I love talking about this movie. I have a kind of sentimental attachment to this movie. This was the first Marvel film that I saw. I went to see it in the cinema with my dad and my brother, and when I was 12, that just meant so much to me. I felt so cool being asked to go and do things with my dad and my brother. To go and see a superhero movie. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I remember the cinema being packed and I just couldn't believe it. And I loved it. I knew nothing about Marvel. I knew nothing about the Avengers. I don't think I'd ever seen a superhero film in my life. And I just loved it. And what I really, really loved about the Avengers is that I could go in there knowing absolutely nothing about anything and still have such a great time and still love the movie and just be desperate to know more. So then when I found out that there was movies for each of the Avengers, I was so excited. It was game changing. I made my dad buy them all on DVD, and that was it. That was the start, and it's just been like that ever since. So there definitely is a kind of sentimental value for me with this movie, but that doesn't make it any less of a fantastic movie. Okay, so the Avengers. Why do I love this movie so much? First of all, again, with you really not needing much knowledge on anything to be able to watch it, there's a huge bonus point for me. I love that we really have to see the makings of a team. You know, they really don't get on for kind of a really long time, actually. You know, these are all people that are pretty much used to working on their own, or at least with like-minded people. And they're all dealing with a different type of threat as well. I mean, maybe minus Thor. Thor's kind of been through this before. I think Loki is a much stronger villain in this movie compared to Thor, but I really think that's only because he's getting the help from Thanos. I think if he didn't have that help, then he would be like nowhere near as powerful. He has 2 Infinity Stones. I feel like that's really easy to forget. Like, he was pretty powerful. He had 2 Infinity Stones. Again, I really love a cinematic universe. I love that we've got Eric Selvig in here. I just think it's so much fun bringing everyone together. I think the pacing is fantastic. You know, we kind of come together and we catch Loki, and like we've caught him way too quick, and then in comes Thor. There's so many good lines as well in this movie. I could probably quote the entire thing. Oh, and this movie's where we lose Phil Coulson. It's devastating, actually. We just spent like 5 movies learning everything about him, and now he's gone. I think the rewatchability of this movie is great as well. I could just watch it over and over and over again. It's just so much fun, and it's so iconic. We get that amazing shot of them outside Grand Central Station. I just can't describe the feeling. I just really wish that I could watch that movie for the first time again. I think it's got to be one of the best. I think it actually has to be one of the best. I really like the ending as well. You know, they all go off in their own separate ways, and it's kind of a bit of a cliffhanger of, you know, when are they going to see each other again? Where do we go from here? It's just so good. It just leaves me with such a good feeling. It's, dare I say, peak. Dare I say it. Again, the music, I think the Avengers theme has to be the most iconic superhero theme, or it's up there. It's got to be up there. It's definitely got to be one of the most recognizable. It's just so good when you've got that playing and they're all standing around in a circle. It's so good. So for me, I think the Avengers is a 9 out of 10. The only reason I'm not giving it a 10 out of 10 is because I think I'm maybe being a little bit biased, but it's just so good. It definitely deserves to be higher up there. So that's why I'm giving it a 9. So now that we've gone through them all, it's time to rank phase 1. So there's a total of 6 movies in phase 1. So I'm going from 6 through till 1, 6 being my least favourite, 1 being my favourite. Might not be too difficult to work out what's going to go where, but let's do it. So at number 6, I have Incredible Hulk. Does this mean that I think this is the worst movie ever? No. I just think it's the weakest, shall we say, out of the rest of them. It's up against some really, really good movies, so it's at number 6. In 5, I have Iron Man 2. Again, not one of my favourites, but I think it's still a good movie, and it's still one that I enjoy rewatching. At number 4, I have Iron Man. I know it's iconic. I know that it started everything off. I know Robert Downey Jr. is fantastic, but again, for me personally, it's at number 4. Captain America is at number 3. I think it's a really fantastic movie. I think it's really fun. Again, it's a great period piece. I really enjoy it. I think there's the drama there. I think there's enough superhero action, and the storyline too is great. So at number 2, I have Thor. I just enjoyed this movie so much on rewatching it, I think I hadn't watched it for so long that I kind of forgot how good it was, and I really had a great time. So it's at number 2. And so obviously at number 1, I have The Avengers. Where else could it go? It absolutely belongs at number 1. There is literally nowhere else that I would put it. It's such a fantastic movie. It's so fun. It's so rewatchable. It's so quotable. It's just so it's just so good. And you know, we're here all of these years later, and it's just still so good. It's just still stands up. So that's my ranking of phase 1. As we go through all of the phases, I'm going to rank each phase individually, but as we go through, I'm going to add movies to a kind of leaderboard, shall we say. So Avengers is at number 1 now, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be number 1 the whole way through. So I think it'll be interesting to see kind of where things move through that. So stay tuned for that. I'm hoping to get a new video out every week with the phases all the way through. There are quite a few things that I need to rewatch because it's been so long. And there's also a few things, especially TV shows, that I need to watch for the first time. So I don't know if I'm being a little bit ambitious with once a week, but I'm going to do my best. And that's the end of the video. So I really hope you enjoyed. Please do let me know in the comments what your ranking is for phase 1. Maybe you've got a couple movies different to me. Maybe we're quite similar, but I always think it's quite interesting to see other people's opinions, and yeah, it's just fun. So I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can know when my phase 2 video will be out. Thank you so much. Bye.